Today we're going to be tearing down my custom blow-through carburetor, but the one I'm going to be replacing it with is going to be a 750, so I can't replace it without removing it, so that's going to be our first step. And then once I pull it off, I'm going to go ahead and break it down and show you guys what I have done to this existing carburetor and then what mods I'm going to do with my new carburetor. Before I can take the carburetor off, I have to drain it, so I've already pulled the fuel pump relay, and now that the relay's out, I can go ahead and start the truck up, drain out the fuel that's currently in the carburetor, and then pull it off. So let's go ahead and cold start this thing. It doesn't like to be cold started. So while I run out the fuel that's in the bowl, I'll let you guys know that this carburetor is set up on an E85 tune. As you guys can see, the engine does have 60 psi of oil pressure, and that's cold, so no problem there. And I'm starting to run out of fuel. Alright, let's go ahead and do this a couple more times and then we'll pull off the carburetor. Some people have been asking me about the carb hat that I use, and this is just a regular, you know, the cheapest carb hat that you can possibly find. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. And then some people were asking me about the stuff that I have on the back, so I've actually drilled out holes for 1/8 inch MPT. The fitting on the left is for a boost reference line to my fuel pressure regulator, and this little sensor looking thing on the right is actually my hop switch for my boost max. What this is, it's essentially just a boost switch. When it sees over a certain amount of pressure, it will kick on the fuel max to overdrive my fuel pump, and instead of upgrading my Silverado fuel pump, I'm just running the stock fuel pump and just overdriving it with the fuel max. And so far up to 530 horsepower is what I made last time. I haven't had any problems, so we're going to keep pushing the power levels of the stock fuel pump and see how far we can push it. So we might see some interesting results in the near future. Alright, so I've got my carburetor here on the bench, but before we go ahead and dive into it, we're going to need to go over a few tools that you guys are going to need before you start messing with this stuff. The first thing is, obviously, you're going to need a wideband, so whether that be an AFR gauge or a lambda gauge if you're running E85, you're going to need something. And you can't do this by spark plug readings alone. Maybe when you're doing your final wide open throttle pulls at the track, you can maybe do a little bit of adjustment here and there on the corners just to get everything a little bit more smooth. But for the most part, especially if you're trying to dial in your drivability, you need that wideband gauge. The one that I'm using right now is one that's set to lambda. That one's made by Daytona Sensors. It is their WeGo wideband units. I'm going to leave a link to that description down below. What you will need, however, are a couple sets of ping gauges, and you can get both of these from eBay. And you got this one right here, again, links down below, and I have a bunch of like little tuning stuff that I carry around in here, but what these basically are, they're like these little sticks or these little pieces of tube or piece of steel or pieces of wire, and they're all calibrated to a certain diameter. And I'm going to show you guys how to use those a little bit later, but all you do is you stick them in the hole and you measure an orifice. Just measuring the orifice by itself is not going to do anything, but you want to go ahead and measure the hole that you're about to drill into before you drill into it, so that way you know where to go from there. So the next tool we're going to be looking at is another set of pin gauges, but these ones actually go up to about 1/4 inch or 250 thousandths. These ones go up to about 60 thousandths. And especially when you're tuning for things like E85, these become invaluable and they're very, very important. So the smallest one is 61 thousandths and the largest one is 250 thousandths. I've used these so many times in order to get my drivability tuning basically spot on. I've had no issues so far. So these are not very expensive. The amount of trouble you will save and the amount of money in terms of gas mileage that you will gain will far exceed the cost of whatever these things cost. So definitely consider that when you guys are deciding whether or not to buy these tools. The next thing you want to pick up is a jetting kit. I got this one from Summit Racing, and this one goes from 64 all the way to number 99 jets. There's actually two schools of thought when you're jetting it. You can either do one of two things. You can either go by the numbers of the jets, or if you decide to drill them out, which if you do that, you can only go up one way. You can't go back down if you go up. But especially if you have pin gauge sets, you only need one set of jets, and you would go ahead and drill them up as needed. You would go up 5 thousandths, 10 thousandths, 20 thousandths, whatever you would need, but again, you wouldn't be able to go back down. So whether or not this is a necessary expense when you're buying a pin gauge set, That's up to you. I went ahead and got it. It wasn't that expensive, but a little bit here, a little bit there, it does tend to add up. So to me, a jetting kit is always helpful, but I did have to go and drill out the jets that I have in the carburetor, and I will go over that later on in the video. The next thing on the list, and this again goes with the pin gauge sets, you're going to need to get yourself a set of drill bits. This is a set of index drill bits. These go for like 15, 20 bucks at Harbor Freight. This goes from number 1 all the way to number 60. So this is a 60-piece set of drill bits. For the most part, you're only going to use the ones on the left and a little bit of these ones right here. They start at 40 thousandths and they end at like 180 thousandths or something like that. Where you're going to be using these a lot is on the idle feed restrictors and on the power valve restrictor channels. So how these two work in combination is you would measure out the hole that you currently have, and then you would calculate how much bigger you want the hole. Then you take the correct drill bit and drill out the hole, and then you run it. Then you calculate again how much more you need to go, and then you measure out your hole first, and then you drill again, and the cycle just keeps continuing, whether it's for your idle feed restrictors or power valves or jets or whatever you need to do. That's how you would go ahead and use these tools together. There's also a smaller drill bit kit that I typically use. It's like this big. It also has like 20, 30 drill bits in it, but they're super, super small. They start at like 15 thousandths and they end at like 60 thousandths. It's a really small kit, and when I was on gasoline I would use that a lot as well in order to drill out my IFRs. But since switching to E85, I haven't needed it, so I don't know where I left it. I'll leave a link to that particular one in the description down below as well. If you're running E85, pretty much this is the only kit you're going to need. Now that we've got all the need to know stuff out of the way, we can go ahead and dive into this carburetor. So let's go ahead and look on the outside before we go ahead and dive inside. So this carburetor used to be a 650 Race Demon mechanical secondary carburetor. From this carburetor, I'm using the alcohol metering blocks. I'm also using the alcohol floats that were in here. I'm using the alcohol needle and seats that were in here, but I have changed a few things. So what I did was I tuned the alcohol demon back down to gasoline, and then I went from gasoline to back up to E85. So as you guys know, methanol runs pretty much twice as much fuel as gasoline does, and E85 runs about 30% more. So making the switch to gasoline was a little bit difficult, but then going back up to E85 was actually fairly easy because everything was already drilled for it. Everything here is pretty much stock Demon except for a few things. Let's talk about the base plate real quick. This is an aftermarket base plate, and this one actually had setups for vacuum ports right here in the back. So there's a small vacuum port right there and a larger vacuum port right there in the rear of the carburetor. And then this base plate had no provisions for the front side of the base plate. It only had them on the rear. And I mentioned that in another video that you actually want these completely blocked off. In my case, I'm actually running a hydro boost setup, so I don't run any kind of vacuum accessories whatsoever. So all the ports on my carburetor and my intake are completely closed. Moving our attention back up to the fuel bowls, you'll see that I have -6 fittings on either side of this carburetor. I've actually removed one so you guys can check it out. So these are -6 fittings, or in a regular sense 3/8. And normally that would probably be fine if you were running gasoline. -6 is probably fine, but because I'm running E85, I needed to upgrade to -8. That is where I ran into my first problem with the Demon carburetor, or Demon style carburetor, is because of the way these fuel bowls are set up. They actually run a 3/4 inch size thread for the inlet versus a 7/8 on a standard 4150 style carburetor. So because Demon has a smaller thread pitch, that means the overall diameter of the inside hole is significantly reduced. I've got my new Proform fuel bowl on the left and the existing one on the right. And right here you can clearly see the difference between these two carburetors, and you can definitely see how the 3/4 inch will eventually become a restriction versus the 7/8 inlet that the Proform carburetor has. And with the Proform carburetor, I will be able to run my -8 fittings directly onto this, so that eliminates 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to have better fuel delivery, and all my existing -8 fittings are going to be able to get bolted on directly, and the less fittings I have, the better the system is going to perform. So I'm very happy about that. Alright, looking at the primary side of the carburetor, I'm going to show you guys a few things first. So the stock Demon has the vacuum port for the stock power valve, and you're actually supposed to plug that up when you install the boost activated power valve. That's not the same for all boost activated power valves, but it is true for the one that I'm using currently on my carburetor. Speaking of power valves, I'm going to show you guys the power valve that I've been using. This particular one is made by Simple Stage. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description as well. And I haven't had any issues with them yet, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. They do come with an adjustment screw, and the adjustment screw will allow you to decide at what boost level the power valve will start to open. So originally I just left it on the stock setting, and the stock setting was opening the power valve right around 2 pounds of boost, and it was just too early. I was getting a bunch of fuel on the primary side when I didn't need it, so I turned it in like about 1.5 turns, and that brought it up to about 3.5 to 4 pounds of boost. As for the rest of the emulsion circuit, I do have standard gasoline fittings. I have the top, middle, and bottom blocked off, and then the second and the fourth one, I have them at 28 thousandths, and then that's the same on both sides. The idle feed restrictors are, I believe, at 42 thousandths, but that's only because I'm running that with E85. As for the air bleeds on top of the carburetor, I have left those 100% stock. I have not touched them at all.